And we're live. Welcome back. I know it's been quite some time. Trading Rolly here. Going to be a little bit of a format change, but I know that most of y'all followed me as Crypto Rolly. So I'll start with the Bitcoin, look at some of the major altcoins, some DeFi, then we'll work our way into the stock market. These days, I like to look at lots of charts, all of the assets. I just can't be, stopped and contained by just Bitcoin. Bitcoin going sideways, you got to look elsewhere. That's just how I feel these days. Go ahead, hit that like, subscribe if you're new. I don't know how many people will be on the live stream. Leave a comment if you're here, but you can always check this out later. But we're going to jump right into it because a lot to talk about. We're going to look at Bitcoin. Let's just start with Bitcoin on the weekly. By the way, this is not financial advice. What do I have to say? Hit the like, subscribe, tick the bell for notifications, yada, yada, yada. Do your own research. It's been a while, guys, but welcome back. Thanks for viewing. And look, guys, I've been saying this for a while. Bitcoin basically been going sideways for almost 3 years now. This looks like, almost like a weird inverse head and shoulders right here. Once we break above this level, the bull run might be here already. I don't think, just saying that there's a lack of VPVR. I've seen some technical analysis saying there's no VPR above this, so we're just going to shoot up. I don't think that's the correct argument because the money has to come from somewhere, right? And I've talked about this on Twitter. We're at a 210 billion market cap on Bitcoin currently. To get up to 20K, we're going to need 150 billion more. So, where is that money going to come from? People are talking about institutional FOMO. You have MicroStrategy, you have Square, we have Grayscale buying all of the newly minted Bitcoin, all of the Bitcoin being mined. You have Grayscale gobbling it up. So yes, there could be institutional FOMO. And hopefully the institutional FOMO will trigger some Facebook retail FOMO. And another thought I've been having recently is we all know the Robinhood traders and the stock market. We've been talking about how this year there's been a huge increase in retail traders, and they're all on, all these new commission-free brokerages. You have Robinhood, SoFi, we have Charles Schwab, E-Trade. They're all, doing these commission-free type brokerages, and people are going to be introduced to Bitcoin possibly through that because they do have Bitcoin on a lot of those apps and exchanges for you. So, maybe they started with Robinhood, and then if they see Bitcoin's price start to just rocket, they might FOMO in as well. And actually, the retail traders have been pushing prices in Tesla, Zoom, all these stocks that are just way overvalued, using your traditional fundamentals. They're just overvalued traditionally, but, the retail trader doesn't care. They just keep pushing the price up. So we could see those type of traders move into Bitcoin. All right. So like I said, we've been going sideways. The fact that we're not down here, in the thousands level is good. We're not in a massive downtrend. If you look at something, like the pot stocks, for example, they had a huge bubble, right? Look at the pot stocks. This is something you don't want to see. A huge run up. Let me get the Bollinger Bands. Huge run up and then just down, 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 down. Possibly could be breaking above that. We'll get into that later, possibly. But Bitcoin has not done that. We've gone sideways. We've maintained this level. We've had the halving earlier this year in March. We have, publicly traded stocks putting 1% of their Bitcoin on their balance sheet. There's a lot of good things fundamentally happening in the space. So I am excited. If we just, we're looking at the weekly, we'll move down to the daily, and, the time frame, the higher the time frame, the higher the weight. If you're looking at a 1 minute chart or a 15-minute chart, can be good if you're a scalper, but it could really just throw you off, give you a head fake, so to say. So we'll start with the weekly. If you've watched this channel, we've repeated this over and over again. Above the yellow 21 EMA is the bull market. Below is a bear market. Well, we've maintained above that yellow 21 EMA this entire time, ever since we broke above in April, end of April. We've just been above it. Even, when we had that setback, that big dump, we bounced off of it. We're still above it. We closed above this pink 10 simple. Things are still looking good on the weekly. And, I'm doing less day trading. Maybe I'll get back involved soon. But, the past month or two, I've been, zooming out, looking at more of a portfolio building, long-term type position. A lot of this came with the acceptance that I'm going to have to do my crypto taxes. A lot of people want to avoid their taxes in cryptocurrency, but the IRS is getting more and more strict. And there's actually some tax services out there for crypto that won't make it as difficult as it may seem. And when I started looking into the taxes, and I saw that it's about a 30% tax on any profit under a year, and only a 15% tax if it's a year or longer, I kind of want to look at the long term a little more. People don't talk about that in crypto. Never ever have I heard any Crypto Kirby, Four Flies, none of these day traders ever mentioning the 30% tax. I mean, you make $1,000, you really only made 700. Okay, so anyways, I digress. We're looking at the weekly here. So above all moving averages, yeah, we're having a little bit of a wick here. Are we putting in a top? Possibly. My concern is that we have falling volume right here. The volume is dropping off, but the price is rising. Typically, this is not the best sign. We want to see volume rising on rising volume, but you saw the falling volume here, so it could just be a consolidation as well. But I am looking at that, and I'm looking at a rising wedge. You could also be looking at that, but we're also looking at a support line that we've been following for a while. You have this rising support line there. And we did break above this level here. If I go to a daily just for 1 second, you can see that a little bit better. You had that support, and then it was flipped as resistance. And now we're back above it. So if we come down, we could come down and retest that as support again. These are the major trend lines. We are putting in a lower high on Bitcoin. So we have the falling volume, lower high. We're going to need to break this downtrend here, break above that, and get some volume on that breakout. That will look good. But going back to the weekly, we'll just take a look at a few other indicators, and we're going to move quickly. Honestly, these days, especially if I'm looking more long term, I don't have to, go so in depth on a million indicators. I can sometimes, over time, you can see that the moving averages even line up with your diagonals, and you can just kind of get a look at it, We're in the bullish zone on the weekly Bollinger Bands. We're still in the bullish zone, bounced off that middle BB perfectly. This is your 20 simple moving average, so very similar to the 21 EMA. And also, look at this. So our stochastic got the cross up on the weekly. This is interesting because I'm going to show you the daily cross down. But the weekly did get a cross up. And, I was using two stochastics the last time I recorded. One was the fast moving. This is the slow moving, but no need to complicate it. I think the fast moving stoch was more sensitive and better for scalping on a low time frame, 15-minute chart. But, if we're looking for stronger confirmations, I'll stick with the slow one just so it's not, so cluttered, right? And on my slow moving stoch, I do have that cross up. So this is a nice confirmation that we have to be aware of, okay? But let's go to the daily. On the daily, you got the cross down. The only thing I can say is in an uptrend, a cross down is not as powerful as a signal as a cross up. A cross up in an uptrend is a better signal. Okay, if we're in a downtrend like we were in 2018, these cross downs were great signals. Bear market, cross down, great signal. When you're in an uptrend, you want to watch those cross ups. So I'm taking this with a grain of salt. Another thing, our RSI kind of hit or got close to overbought, kind of getting a rejection, but you still have a higher high, higher low, higher high, possibly another higher low on your RSI. And something that I read in one of my books, I've been doing a lot of studying too, we'll get to all that one day, but basically sometimes people are afraid to get involved into a trade. Let's say right here, you can see that was right there on the daily. You were quite, almost overbought. And, a lot of people would be like, oh, you got to sell it because it's overbought. And then we ended up going higher. Of course, we consolidated there. But you see, we ended up going higher. And often, the next move when you're bullish can be up high. You can go overbought. And usually by the time you just get right there, it doesn't mean to get out necessarily, especially in an uptrend. And the nature of the price moving that way will move the RSI that way. So often when some people are jumping ship, it's natural to already be high on the RSI. So you have to keep all things considered and know that there's a lot of more room to go, okay? This is just one thing to consider, but it's not everything. All right. Sorry, I'm going over a lot of things here, but we do have to watch out for that. The cross down, you have the lower highs here, the lower highs there. Let's take a look real quick at the Bollinger Band, see how they look. This looks, I'll get to the Nasdaq down the road, but we had a nice little breakout there, but we hit the resistance. We're going sideways. If we take this off and just look at some of my drawing tools, we could just kind of float this way, kind of chop sideways, consolidation, get a breakout. We could test lower. There's a CME gap that we mostly filled, but there's a little bit left there. Or we could come down and retest this level. But on the bigger scale, none of this is that big of a deal to me. If you're trading a 15-minute chart, you're going to be a lot more sensitive to every little move. Let's look at the moving averages real quick. Moving averages, we're still above all moving averages. My pink 10 simple, yellow 21 EMA crossed above this blue 50 simple moving average. So you have the lower time frames above the higher time frames. That's bullish. And we bounced off the pink 10 simple. I mean, maybe we come test the yellow 21 EMA, but for now, it's still good. Still good. There's a lot of uncertainty in this market. Yo, Rolly Roll. AD, what's up? Thank you for checking in. Thank you for the comment. I know it's been a while. I'm going to get to a few DeFi for you. It's been wild. I was a little slow on the DeFi. I didn't get too involved in the Uniswap myself. I probably missed out on a lot of gains, but those ETH fees, I couldn't do it. But let's just look at the 4-hour real quick, and then we can move on here. 4-hour is flirting with this 50 simple, but none of this, this is just one thing to look at. You can see you chop around here. And also, when you're choppy like this, the moving averages aren't your best indicator. The moving averages are better in the trending uptrend. Like you can see on the 4-hour, you broke above and you just held that pink 10 simple And then after, that run up on the pink 10 simple, you ended up, running up on the yellow 21. And then the next one was the blue 50 simple. And then we started chopping around and they start snaking around, and then they just aren't as important, okay? When you're choppy going sideways, your RSI and your stochastics will be a better indicator. In a trending market, your moving averages will be a better indicator. We have a cross down on the 4 hour. We had a cross up. This was yesterday. I posted it. I liked what I saw right here. You saw this. This was yesterday. We broke above, these body candles here. That was looking good. We kind of stalled out. There was no volume. And then the OKX, FUD, couldn't withdraw. We dumped, but we didn't even dump that hard. But with that dump, we did get that cross down here. So it was a little bit of a fake out. There was no volume. You can blame it on the OKX thing, but there was no volume. But in general, we didn't drop any further. And if you look at the CME real quick, let's look at CME real quick. We mostly filled that gap and we bounced. There's probably a lot of buy orders within this gap. You saw that here. There was buy orders, and we never filled one of the gaps down here. Okay. I used to preach the gap, but I've been playing the gap way less. I think the more that this market matures, the less that the gaps will be such a meme. In the stock market, there's gaps all the time because they're closed. I mean, stock market's only open 6.5 hours a day. So, if the price moves overnight, you're going to have a gap. And that's why stock market people just hated when Bitcoin people talked about gaps. But that's what I'm saying. So the more this matures, I think the gaps will be less important. And in fact, we can see that people know about the gaps and they're placing their buy orders in that area. So we came down, nothing bad. I mean, come on, guys. We had BitMEX, FUD, we had OKX, we had KuCoin hacked, we had, the Trump, calling off the stimulus, all these things. And we're still sitting here at a great level. All right. So 11,300. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. Of course, price can move any direction. Bitcoin is a very volatile asset, and you're going to see price movements up and down. You just have to be able to stomach that and understand. But in the long run, I do think, 2021 might be our year, and I don't see why we can't break above 20K. Eventually, I mean, the limited supply, 21 million. I mean, what other asset has that fixed supply? Now we have the wrapped Bitcoin. You have altcoins, you have forks. So you could argue that there's just, a million other ways you could get involved in crypto. So is it really that limited? I don't know. But guys, Grayscale is buying up 70% of the newly mined Bitcoin. You have companies that will just take over, and then there's going to be a lack of supply. All right, so that was a lot on Bitcoin. I don't even know how long I've been going. I can't see, but we'll just keep it going. All right, start. That was about 15 minutes. 15 minutes on Bitcoin. Let's go over. We're going to do a quick run through everything else. I know most of the people that watch this channel watch me on Bitcoin, and down the road we'll see how the format evolves. I'm going to probably cover whatever I feel like is important that day, and maybe if the Apple or Tesla is pumping, we'll start with that, and then we'll end with Bitcoin. But I just wanted to do this just because it's been a while, and who cares, right? It's not like I have 1 million subscribers. All right, so let's go over to Ethereum. Take a look at Ethereum. Let's zoom out on Ethereum. Ethereum is still looking for Ethereum 2.0. We let's see. I don't like this Coinbase chart. I've arranged things differently. This is not giving me enough. I can't see. Let's just look this up. Sorry, guys. 1 second. ETH USD. We'll go to Bitstamp. I'm sure that will have a little more. No, I don't know. All right. Well, anyways. Oh, I'm tripping. Okay, so yes, sorry guys. This is 2018. I'm definitely winging it today. So 2018, this was our high, January 2018. We did put in a higher high. So we had high, lower high, lower high. We finally broke above that. So we now have a new uptrend. We have a low, okay. We have a higher high and possibly putting in a higher low. We want to break this, obviously, but this is just 2 touches. A 3-touch trend line is more confirmation than just 2. So we're just kind of fishing for trend lines right here. But in general, what I like is the fact that we have this higher high. And that's something that I'm looking at in a lot of assets, that we're just putting in these lower highs. Okay, you can see this on XRP, lower high, lower high, lower high. We finally broke above that, you know, flirting with this level here. The candle bodies new high, but your wick was high there. But if we can get one more high on XRP, now you have higher lows, low, higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high. So we're looking at a possible breakout on XRP. I know a lot of people are excited about that. Let's look at Cardano for another example. Cardano was in a constant downtrend, and now you've broken above what, back in 2019. You've put in a new high here. There's just a nice rally. And, you know, a lot of this might have had to do with the DeFi pumps with altcoins. But what I want to say about DeFi, I'm about to start jumping around here, guys. Sorry. You had this run up, total value locked USD in DeFi, right? So we had a huge run up and we're taking a breather. That's normal. Some of these coins went, you know, 1,000%, you know, 500%. It's expected to have some kind of pullback. You know, did you think it was going to go 10,000%? So it's normal for us to have a pullback, and the larger the price, you know, fluctuations, like the higher the price swing, it's like Bitcoin. Bitcoin went on a massive rally, and Bitcoin, we see a 30% pullback is normal. We saw a 50 to 60% pullback on things like Wi-Fi, Uniswap, all of these little, you know, DeFi gems. But I do like this, and you can see that the value locked up in USD really didn't get that much of a pullback. And people take profits. If you ran up 1,000%, you know, people are going to take profits, right? So we have to be expecting that. I guess what we're hoping is that Bitcoin takes off, the altcoins follow, and we get a wave 2 alt run, right? I like this DeFi Pulse data because you can see that Uniswap, you know, is the top maker. You can see just, you know, which ones are holding the most Bitcoin or USD value. So I take a look at this. Let's take a look at a few more altcoins real quick, and then I'll move to the stock market. All right, I don't see that much interactions. It's all good. I just kind of just jumped out of nowhere with this, kind of a test run. So it is what it is. Let's look at Link real quick. Link is on a nice uptrend. I mean, yes, you pulled back from 20 down to 10, but look at this uptrend on the weekly. Is there anything to be bearish about Link's weekly uptrend? I don't think so. This was where we had the big breakout. You know, you had resistance, and you're flirting there, big breakout, and you're still putting in a higher high, higher low. I like it. On the weekly, I like it. What else do we have? Let's take a look at Uni. This one was, you know, an altcoin gem that has just been in a downtrend. I think this is the thing about Uni. You know, we're having a pullback in all DeFi. The Kanye Wi-Fi debacle probably has put a taint on some people's minds. Also, you've had other projects just completely rug pull. People are losing money, so people are being a little more skeptical. But the thing with Uniswap uh, is look at their market cap. Let's find Uni. Is it Uni? I don't know how to say it. Let's find it real quick. Where are you? All right. So the market cap is at 500 million. Wi-Fi at its height was at 1 billion. There's no reason Uniswap cannot get back to 1 billion. If you get back to 1 billion, that's about a 2x from here, correct? Okay, so that would be about a 6. That would be right around here. That would be about $6 per coin. Okay, that's a 1 billion market cap. If we get the $150 billion put into Bitcoin to take us to 20K, 150 billion, do you think that Uni could possibly hit 2 billion? Yes, why not? We're at 500 million. So you're talking about 3 times 4 is 12. I mean, I'm just thinking about the market caps here, and I'm thinking about the money's going to spread out across the board, correct? That's just my thought process. Let's look at the top altcoins here. All right, so you have market caps. The top 10 are around 3 billion. So why could, if Litecoin is 3 billion in a bull run, why couldn't Uni hit a 3 billion? So that's a 6x from the current price. 3 times 6 is 18. So we could have an $18 Uni. So I've had my roulette table of altcoins, and I've put things across the board. You know, I hold a majority of my crypto is going to be in Bitcoin, but I have put allocations across, I don't know, about 30 altcoins, because if there is a bull run, there's going to be a lot of money, and these lower mid-cap altcoins that are under a billion, I don't see why they can't hit 2 to 3 billion on the next, if not 10 billion, you know, on the next bull run. So guys, like I said, I'm all over the place. It's been about 30 minutes. I think that covers the crypto market. Let's move on over to some stocks real quick. Hit that like for me. The S&P. So the S&P, obviously, you know, we've been bullish. The stimulus helped out a lot right there. You had that breakdown below this rising support trend line. We had a nice rally. We were looking at a inverse head and shoulders. You can't see it necessarily here. There was a Nasdaq futures chart that looked a little bit better. It's a complex inverse head and shoulders, a double shoulder, double head, triple shoulder almost. And we almost had that measure move. You know, I called this inverse head and shoulders out. We almost had that measure move, but we are putting in a lower high. We do have to be worried, not worried, but the problem is this uncertainty and the lack of stimulus. Back here, I think we were pricing in the stimulus was coming, and now the stimulus is still not here. And I just heard someone talking about it may take till March. That's crazy. I don't even know how that will work. And if it's going to take till March, you might have some more chopping. If you look at the Nasdaq, I have this symmetrical triangle possible drawn out here. We could chop around. We could have some volatility before election is still November 3rd, but it's going to take about a week till all of the mail-in ballots even come in. You know, we could chop sideways. If we get, you know, an actual stimulus bill, which is very doubtful, maybe we continue higher. But, you know, or we're putting in a double top. a lower high double top. So we do have to watch this. It's a time to be cautious. But guys, tech market is doing well. Yeah, you have regulation might come down hard on tech, but overall, the COVID wave 2 in Europe's hitting. The stay-at-home play, was definitely in Nasdaq. If we go back to stay-at-home regulations or lockdowns, I don't see why it would be any different. The economy and the stock market are not the same. A lot of people were saying down here, hey, the economy is going into recession, short, 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 short. Where did that get you? Guys, the overall trend is definitely up. You can see you have some choppiness in the Nasdaq here. There's going to be pullbacks. Are you investing to make money in the next week? I would be cautious. If you're building a portfolio for the next 10 years, I think 10 years from now, this chart will be higher. I don't see why not. So it depends how you're playing this game. Overall, though, with the lack of stimulus, and we don't know if it's Trump or Biden, we do have to be careful. You're putting in that lower high there. You have the 4-hour Nasdaq, coming down. Let's look at the weekly. Let's take a look at Nasdaq weekly. It was coming down, looking like we could get a cross back up. All we need is a bounce next week, and we could get that cross back up on the Nasdaq. But you do have this weekly red bearish candle with that wick. So we could chop around. We could come back down here, test this. We could just bounce around here. Do we break out to the upside or break down? Who knows? You just got to play it, if you're looking at the 15-minute chart, these price fluctuations can be crazy. If you're looking at a long-term stance, I still like tech personally. People have been talking about a cyclical play moving into the value stocks. Personally, I haven't seen the value stocks doing that well. Election is halting the markets. Yeah, I agree. Uncertainty. That's what the stock market doesn't like, is uncertainty, and that's what we're getting. We're getting chop. So maybe we'll have to wait till after November. But typically, guys, if you use all of the aggregated data from all of the elections, we have a price increase in the stock markets after the election. So we might have a good November, December, maybe a pullback in January. I think, 2021 end of year is going to be really great for Bitcoin. How does the stock market perform? The stock market and Bitcoin, to me, are closely related on macro moves. On this big dump, everything dumped. Gold, S&P, Bitcoin, they all dumped. Bitcoin bounced back faster. So, on a day-to-day basis, they're not necessarily correlated. But whenever there's a macro move, they all move together. And that's just because people with a lot of money have a lot of assets. And if they're holding Bitcoin and they're holding, Apple and they're holding gold and they're holding oil, whatever, and they see the market selling, Bitcoin's a risky asset. So they might sell off a little bit there. I don't know. But overall, I'm bullish. AD seems like you're the only one commenting for now. So if you have anything you would like me to look at, definitely let me look at that. Pot stocks, I'm still looking for a break of this downtrend. Democratic victory could be good for pot stocks, but we're still waiting to see that. Let's look at, I like, the IPO has just been ripping. This is an IPO ETF. I like this one. I mean, it's just on a constant uptrend. So will it have a pullback? Very possible. But, the trend is your friend, and it's just been going, going, going. Apple, let's see. Apple also looks very similar to the Nasdaq. But I think 5G on the new Apple iPhones is something that people will be buying into. And I think overall, Apple is just a great company no matter what. Let's see. Amazon should do well also, in a COVID environment. I think Amazon hardly even took a hit. Where was their hit? They didn't even have a hit. Amazon's a good company. Boeing is, I like it a little more than American Airlines or Delta because a it's not just an airlines. They actually produce the planes, but they also have they build defense. They build in the defense market, and they have stuff in the space market. They have flying cars they're trying to develop. So when I'm looking at long-term portfolios, I'm thinking about the future. So I like Tesla. Tesla, you can say it's overvalued, but it's still holding this uptrend. If we go closer on the daily on Tesla, we have possible ascending triangle. I don't know. We could get a breakout here. It's kind of flirting with this trend line here. But I like Tesla long term because of what they're doing with electric cars, self-driving cars. So yeah, in the short term, you could see some downside. But overall, next 10 years, I think Tesla is a great company to own. Something I also like, my sleeper play, is going to be General Motors, having a nice little breakout above resistance here. And you can see that on the daily, you have this nice little uptrend since that Black Swan event. Higher high, lower high, higher high, lower high, putting in a higher high, and you're still down. The reason I say it's kind of a sleeper play is if you zoom out and you look, the past 10 years, it's mostly sideways, but General Motors is moving to all electric cars only. They have the electric Hummer coming out. The ads are coming out next week during the World Series. They have their autonomous self-driving cars being tested in San Francisco later this year. And they're moving all electric. So this could be a competitor in the electric space down the road. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm kind of building portfolios here. AD, give me a request, any request. But I've got a large portfolio. I have over 30 stocks, a little more overweight in tech, but I do have a lot of different types of plays, and I'm looking more long term. Nikola, Nikola, they've had a rough time, and the thing about them was they don't have a product on the market. So this is the retail driving the price up. This is looking ugly. So they had retail buyers buying it because it was the next Tesla. But then they had the whole thing about the commercial where they had the truck was driving. And then they found out that they just had it on a hill and they changed the angle. So it wasn't even working. It was just rolling down a hill. And then they had the CEO, a lot of drama there, and then he stepped down. They don't have a working product. So that's why I'm looking more at electric cars with a working product. And you're just putting in lower highs. This isn't a downtrend. It's a major downtrend. What I would like to see possibly maybe some good bullish news in Nikola, and then break this lower high. You're going to need to put in a low, a higher low, a higher low, right? Otherwise, it's looking ugly, and it was looking like the pot stock, kind of like a bubble there. I haven't heard anything good about this one in a while. What else do you got, AD? Give me anything. Like you can see up here, these are a lot of the ones I look at, okay? Zoom it has been a tough one. Its PE ratio, I don't know if you can see it on the side here, is 690. So a growth stock, can be in the 100, 125. That's actually normal for a growth stock like a tech company. If it was a value stock at 120, it'd be overvalued, but because it's growth, it's more acceptable. But 690 is definitely high. This is probably a stock that a lot of, Robinhood traders have been buying into, the FOMO. But Zoom has been on a crazy uptrend. It's on an uptrend till it's not. And then this week they also have this new new earnings tactic or revenue idea. I'm slipping for the words, but basically they can charge ticket sales on Zoom now. So at least Zoom is trying to grow, and they're trying to innovate even with their product. They're not stagnant. I like that. But most of all, I'm a chart guy, right? And I saw this symmetrical triangle, and I saw the breakout, and I bought a little here, and we're up. Could we get dumped on? Sure. But what I looked at was the symmetrical triangle. And the chart speaks for itself sometimes. Oftentimes by the time you hear the news, the price move already happened. So if the move happens in the chart, you don't really need to know why it happened. I'm kind of one of those chart TA guys, right? NRGU, let's take a look at that. I'm not familiar right off the bat, but let's take a look. NRGU. Woo! This is another big downtrend. Why do you like to... God. Well, it's cheap. It's cheap. We can say that. But, oh man. Oil index? Yeah. Oil's, I like to watch Mad Money with Jim Cramer. And he says tobacco, no go. Gas, no go. So, it's going to be rough. The thing is with the lockdowns, definitely a lot less gasoline being used, right? Cruise ships aren't using them. Airplanes aren't using them. Less travel in general. So there's a less demand for it. It's cheap as hell, but I keep these type of things on my radar, like the pot stocks. But I think there's more going for the pot industry than there is the oil industry. Keep it on your radar. If it breaks out above, cool. If you've bought in a little bit, I wouldn't buy more. I wouldn't just keep buying and buying and buying. I would hold it. And, if you get a break of this downtrend and start putting in an uptrend, maybe you can add to your allocation. That would possibly, I like to, on these airlines, I only have Boeing in my portfolio. But if you were getting cruise ships, maybe buy a little bit, kind of like a roulette play, something you're willing to lose or willing to take another 50% hit on. And you can always add more later. But I wouldn't be like, oh, it's so undervalued, I'm going to just put in $10,000 and then watch it drop and drop and drop. I don't like it like that. Yes, downtrends are for shorting. All right, I agree. So good, we're on the same page. This is just ugly. Welcome back, So hey, you have any requests? I've been going 45 minutes, but I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've been debating in my head kind of why I've kind of taken some time off. I don't know how I want to cover everything. It's just a lot, right? But I like to look at a lot of this. I could maybe I'll make some videos focused on certain subjects, but right now I'm just kind of doing it all. Costco, I like. Look at this chart. This is a chart that I like. I like Costco. Look at that. Uptrends. Buy the dip. Disney is suffering because of the pandemic, but it's kind of cheap here. And before the pandemic, it was on mostly a run-up. So this is kind of like maybe a future play. But if you have extreme shutdowns again, maybe it takes another dip. If all markets drop, it will drop as well. Let's see. Anything else, guys? I might just go here soon. Oh, I like Riot. Riot is super down. So I put in a small allocation here as well. But Riot blockchain is invested in the mining of Bitcoin. And this looks like an altcoin chart. And this is at $3, a 10x just to its 2018 peak. So if Bitcoin takes off, I think Riot will as well. And Riot is putting in a pretty similar pattern as Bitcoin. So I like that one just as kind of a Vegas roulette type play. Square's doing very well. Square is a company to keep your eye on. Yeah, it's pretty high, but the whole thing with the 1% allocation of Bitcoin could be interesting if Square somehow is an on-ramp for Bitcoin. If Square is our Bitcoin payment system of the future, there could be a lot of transactions going through Square. So it's something to keep our eye on. Moving averages on the Riot. Yes. Let's take a look at that. I don't look at moving averages like I used to. Of course, they can be helpful, but I can just zoom out and look at the chart and look for, the higher high, higher low. What's the trend, But to do our due diligence, Riot bounced off the yellow 21 EMA. You also have that wick. It's very similar to Bitcoin here. This is the weekly. So it bounced off the yellow 21 EMA. It looks good there. But your daily, coming down just like Bitcoin did. Still above the yellow 21 EMA, flirting with this 50 simple. We'd like to see a bounce here on Riot and Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin bounces pretty soon, this weekend, next week, I think Riot will bounce as well. $3, I mean, this is nothing, you know what I mean? And if you're buying altcoins, you might as well buy Riot. That's my opinion. The 200 moving. Yeah, I don't even look at 200 moving anymore. I'll throw it on. I can do that. The 200 EMA, it's the light green. Here's we'll change this one to maybe, I don't know, a dark green. That'll be our 200 simple. All right. So above your 200 EMA on the daily, well above the 200 simple on the daily. Looking at the weekly, below. Okay, so we did hit that resistance. This is the 200 simple. The dark green is the 200 simple. Did hit that resistance perfect. Had a little resistance there. Didn't really get too high above it and then dropped. Hit a resistance again. So that's going to be a resistance around $4.60. And then your 200 EMA target would be $8.36. Kind of had a rejection there. So I guess, yeah, long-term, weekly, getting back above 460, back above 830 is what you want to see. So just out of curiosity, looking at Tilray, because it's very similar. We don't even have the 200 week on here. See, the weekly is still beneath that 21 EMA there as well. But you see what I said earlier in the video, if you were paying attention, this downtrend pretty much just lines up with the yellow 21 EMA. That's why the moving averages, the 200, I didn't see that coming, so good call. But, on the shorter time frames, it just kind of usually lines up with, diagonals. But so if we can break above that 21 EMA, that would be a good step. 21 EMA on Tilray is at $7. Your next level target would be 1092. Something I like a little bit more than Tilray is the Canopy Growth. Canopy Growth is just the Coca-Cola of pot stocks, and they didn't come down as hard as Tilray. Also, Canopy Growth last week bought a beverage company, and they want to move into THC beverages, which no hangovers, and it takes about 7 to 10 minutes to feel it. Sounds like a good idea to me. All of this is dependent on a legalization of the United States, which eventually will happen. So if you're willing to wait it out, I think pot stocks eventually will do well. Kamala Harris said decriminalization during her debate. We saw a nice pump, but it was decriminalization. It's not the same as legalization. But if the United States legalizes it federally, the Canadian companies like Canopy and Tilray can start selling in the States, but it has to be federal. And then once the U.S. federally legalizes, the rest of the world will follow, okay? The world kind of follows U.S.'s drug stance, in my opinion. So I think it's eventual. When? Who knows? Eventually. So it depends. How long are you willing to wait, right? If you get a Democratic president, it could be sooner. If it's Trump, it might be later. But these are super cheap. Something I also like is this MJ. It's an ETF for the pot stocks. Something to look at. It looks ugly. All of this looks ugly, but I think there's a lot of potential here. So you don't even have to put in that much. A tiny bit could grow a lot. Kind of like some of these altcoins, right? Anything else? Yeah, accumulate a little bit. Definitely. I mean, it's worth a try. I spend more money on alcohol at the bars back when the bars were open than I do on some of these pot stocks. So it's not a big deal. You know, I've become very frugal over the past 6 to 7 months. LA, where I stay, has been on, more of a lockdown than most places in the country. I haven't gone out. I haven't gone to a bar in 7 months. I don't go to restaurants. I'm not buying clothes. Who do I need to impress? So I have a lot of extra money that I've been just kind of buying stocks and altcoin positions. So whatever. Wi-Fi. Let's just look at Wi-Fi for the hell of it. Look at this this head and shoulders. It was clear as day, finding support right here. I don't know about this one. This is not a stock or not a coin I'm looking to add. I foolishly bought in on the Coinbase listing, and Coinbase, Coinbase just listed all of these random DeFi projects and can't even list Cardano, which I've been loading up on some Cardano on Kraken just in case. I've been loading up on some Polkadot, 12% APY staking on Kraken. I believe these will be added to Coinbase sometimes, but the Coinbase effect hasn't worked well on these DeFi coins, that's for sure. Yes, this one could come down lower. I'm not willing to play with this one anymore. I only put in a little bit, and if it just goes to zero, well, I'll lose that. But I'm not going to put in more and lose more. I think there's still potential, like, Wi-Fi. Let's look at the Wi-Fi market cap real quick. It was at $1 billion, okay? And this Kanye guy has been tainting it with all these other projects around his name. But he came out and said, I am not Yearn. So maybe that's a good thing. Down to 400. So if Bitcoin can get a breakout soon, in the next month or two, all of these market caps are going to go higher regardless, right? But if there's a downturn in all markets and we don't get 15K Bitcoin till next July, well, Wi-Fi might not even be a subject, right? That's the problem with some of these altcoins, is they're hype. This Polkadot came out of nowhere. There's a lot of fundamentals with Polkadot that sounds entertaining. So possibly this isn't just a hype coin, but a lot of these are just brand new. No one was talking about a lot of these coins. And I feel like the longer it takes to go on the bull run, there's just going to be 50 new coins by next summer, So if we get a nice pump in the next month or two, we might be able, if you're underwater on some of these coins, you might be able to get your money back. But if it takes 6 months for a bull run, you might never see that money again. Because we saw the same thing with altcoins that were popular in 2018. They've lost 95%, 99%, and just never, ever, ever recovered. So we got to go with the momentum, okay? Got to go with the momentum. And, you know, I think it's been almost an hour, so that's it for me. I've covered a lot. Looking at, you know, Market Watch, I like this site. I'm ready to sign a big, beautiful stimulus. When? I can't believe someone just said March. That's going to just kill a lot of people. I don't know what's going on with this. This is definitely a big problem with all markets, is this stimulus thing. People are just assuming it's going to happen, but now maybe it doesn't. I'm not going to get political here. I have my opinions, but it is what it is. All right, guys, it's been enough. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll find a nice, concise format moving forward, and there will be more videos to come. Hit that like for me. All right, I'll see you next time.